All right. Hello, you guys, and welcome to the Worthiness Project. I am your host, Vally and I just want to welcome you to your worthy, safe space. I want to welcome you and congratulate you on diving into your self-worth. And this is my baby, as I call it. This is something I love, which is my podcast platform. So welcome. If you are returning, thank you so much. If you are a new follower here, well, I am Vally and I am a worthiness coach. I am a confidence coach. I help you build your business. I help you find limiting beliefs and crush them, if you will, for lack of better words. Okay. But my goal with my platform, whether you're new here or you have been following me along my journey, is I am a very real, vulnerable coach. Okay. I like to talk about things that inspire people. I like to talk about things that sometimes are not the most popular opinions. And they come from my 10 years of mentoring other business owners in a different market that I had the pleasure of growing in and learning from, and also through my own journey. And one of the biggest things that I love bringing to this platform is that I am usually only one step ahead of my clients. So I am not one of those know-it-all, quote unquote, coaches. I never feel unrelatable, because most of the time when we are on our self-worth journey, there are so many things we need to honor. We need to, first of all, just honor the fact that you are here, that you are willing to listen to something that you feel is going to better yourself. Okay. And that was my whole mission when I started my podcast. My whole reason of creating the Worthiness Project platform was because I felt that I had so many beautiful things to share from my own experiences, from my own seminars that I've gone to, from my own growth, from my own coaches. And I was just like, more people need to talk about self-worth, because it is a hot topic, but it is not one of those topics that we love always admitting about or chatting with. And it's becoming more and more a conversation to honor. And so my goal is that when you come across this platform and you find an episode, that you leave with just something that you feel more empowered, something where you might find this podcast at a time where you are feeling really good, or you might find this podcast at a time where you are just not feeling the best. Okay. And I do really thrive in being real. Okay. And being vulnerable. And it's not always easy for me to put myself out there, but I feel that how can I help and mentor and coach clients and my beautiful worthiness community if I'm not willing to be the one to lead? Okay. So congratulations on being here. Okay. Whoever you are, man, women, everybody. Okay. We all deserve to feel worthy. And I created this platform, like I said, because I felt that it was a topic that more and more people needed to hear about and needed to be excited to grow, but to also really understand our self-worth journey never stops. Okay. We don't just, do the work for 6 months and be like, we're here. Okay. The whole point, if you follow me on Instagram on the Worthiness Project, you will know and see firsthand that I am the first to admit that when you do 1 ounce of healing, sometimes it feels like we take 3 steps back, but then we do take those 4 steps forward. Okay. But it's always in our power and our control. So I am a firm believer that we don't need to change anything. There is nothing wrong with us. We need to shift what it is. And in order to do that, we need to know what are the right questions. What are the things we have not wanted to ask ourselves and not get anyone else's opinion. Okay. So today in our episode, I have my notebook right in front of me. So if you're watching, you're going to see me looking down a little. It's totally fine, because I am real, you guys. There's no million takes here. All right. When I am doing my podcast, I put a lot of time in planning, but I also do a lot of reflecting. Right. And if it is something that I have recently gone through, I'm like, other people need to hear this. Okay. So my prayer is that this helps you realize that you have every ounce of worth already in you, And you just now can honor the courage that you are going to do your best every single day to be intentional with your life. It is no one else's choice anymore. I don't care your family. I don't care your best friends. People who love you will understand. And sometimes on this journey of worth, we need to have a hard look at to what fills our heart, because we get one shot at this, you guys. Okay, one shot. So how we choose to live it is up to us. But that comes with pausing, that comes with asking the right questions, and that comes with a lot of self-worth throughout the day. Practices, I like to call them, our pivotal practices, okay? But also honoring where we are, knowing that where we are for the day, for the week, for the hour, it's okay. And not to pretend we don't feel that way, but rather to sit in it and then realize what it is we want to feel. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. And I'm going to call it the worthy trigger. And we all have it, you guys. It is that moment in time where we just literally get to a point, something happens. It's whether it be a reoccurring cycle where something just continues. It's this feeling where we're like, why am I feeling this again? Why am I here again? It's the worthy trigger. And it's one of those things where when you are on the self-worth journey, you get triggered all the time. Okay. But when you are on the journey, you learn to dive into those triggers and you learn to ask yourself the right questions when you're in these triggers. And it is not comfortable, because when we are uncovering the worth that we were born with, we are literally unshedding possibly decades of unworthy thoughts, things we grew up with. It's nobody's fault, you guys. However we grew up with our family beliefs, our friend beliefs, our culture, everyone that was in that situation did the best they can. But if we know deep down something is not aligning, we have to decide that that's not our story anymore. So if we are doing that, and it's decades and years of unconditioning things and feelings and more coming to the surface, we need to honor that more than ever. And that means we need to give ourselves grace. And it is the hardest thing, because people we love, most of the time we can be unconditionally forgiving. We can really support them. And if you're like me, we can be our own worst critic. Well, we should know this. We shouldn't be feeling like this. I should be healed from this. There are no shoulds. But there comes a time when we are just at a point where we are just so sick and tired of feeling a certain way, whether it be from a situation, a reoccurring incident. How we choose to respond, not react, matters. So the first step is when you are literally at this point and you're like, I'm done. I am done feeling this way. I'm done feeling like I'm always doing this in the same situation. I'm done. You can love people in your life unconditionally and create boundaries. And these boundaries are meant to be created so we can finally value ourselves and step into the self-love we finally deserve. So in order to do that, we need to understand, what is it that I don't want to feel anymore? And we need to write that down. And that is the first question, you guys. It's all about the questions. It's not about the answers. It's not about instant gratification here on our worthy path. It is about asking ourselves, what is it that I don't want to feel anymore? And how have I continued to contribute to that feeling? So we do have to take ownership, you guys. Okay. Myself included. And that means having a hard look in the mirror and being like, okay, well, you continue to say yes to things you don't want to say yes to. You continue to, I'm not saying have to forgive people you love, but maybe you are now not instantly you're forgiving them, but you are asking them and thanking them for their apology, and then allowing yourself the space to process so you can allow them space to prove to you a shift will happen. because it's these repetition of patterns that we need to analyze and then ask ourselves, what can I control? What can I shift? And most of the time, that is taking ownership, because when we have been conditioned to over apologize or over give, or feel like we're not worth a certain money level, a certain job level, because of how we grew up and stories that we've heard, we have to dig into those stories and ask ourselves, what is it that I'm telling myself? What is it that I'm allowing? What is it that I'm scared to say that my most true self knows if I say it, it's going to be respected, but it's uncomfortable to say. So what I mean by that is, sometimes, myself included, this has been a big lesson, is to sometimes say what it is I really mean. And it doesn't mean not being compassionate or not being empathetic, but throughout my worthy journey, one of the big things is I have found is that I always have put my feelings last, because I am such a big empath that I just want to help and fix, quote unquote, and heal everyone that I care about. And what happened, and something I'm still working on, is that I have feelings of unworthiness that come up because I don't give myself that same grace and that same gratitude that I give those that I care about. So when I got real with myself, I had to ask myself, what is the most uncomfortable thing for me to do? And for some reason, it was basically not sugarcoating things and just saying what it is I needed to say by expressing how it is I needed to say how I felt. And for a lot of people, as you can see me squirming, if you're watching this on a video, it's uncomfortable. But you know what? I got to a point where I was so sick and tired of feeling like crap that I was like, I'm most to blame for this, not the people I care about, right? Me, because I had these limiting beliefs about confrontation and wanting to tell people everything they wanted to hear or just make sure they were okay, but never really asking myself, well, all of this compressing of what it is I really wanted to say. And it's not even bad stuff, it wouldn't even be bad things. It was just expressing how I felt, but I was scared to tell people how I felt, because I felt like I was being oversensitive. I felt like I was being overreacting at the time. But when I reflect, the point is how we feel is valid. End of story. So when it comes to any situation, work, family, relationships of any capacity, we have the power to feel safe and valid when we are expressing how we feel within ourselves. We have to give ourselves that permission. Nobody else. Okay. Nobody else is a mind reader, and they shouldn't have to be, because how other people receive what we say is not our issue to deal with. Right? So what is it that you are so done with overdoing, feeling, saying? Get real with it, because you deserve to be free of feeling like you have to just press it in and press it in. Because when we validate our own feelings by courageously sharing in the situation what is real, we then are telling the people we love, we're telling ourselves, we're telling the universe, I am worthy enough to say what is on my heart and mind, and I'm still loved. I'm still cared about. I'm not going to be abandoned. And even if a disagreement happens, I am still safe in the outcome because I don't have to bottle up what it is that I want to unapologetically say to be accepted and to be loved. I can be unapologetically myself. And that is going to always be a practice, right? So what is it that you have been allowing and enabling yourself to do in situations, but you are just literally like, I'm done feeling this way. But let me just say something. There is no shame in it. Okay. A lot of times when we say, oh my gosh, I have been having this behavior for 30 years. Okay. Or this has been a situation and we could go into victim mode. We can blame people in our lives. It's not about that. That is not what I'm here to say. I'm not here to say to go and cause an uproar in your relationships. What I'm saying is a lot of times we disvalue and discredit what we are feeling to comfort those that we love. Therefore, we have internal struggles. We build this resentment. We feel unworthy, and we subconsciously create this block that we are unworthy of love, unworthy of a better career, unworthy of financial abundance, unworthy of the type of friends that we want to have. When the reality is we create that. So we have to have the strength and the courage to have that moment where we look in the mirror, look ourselves eyeball to eyeball, and we say, what am I done doing now? What is super uncomfortable for me, but my best self, you guys, best Val just says what it is she wants to say with obviously respect and things of that nature, but without the fear, and going through what am I fearful of? And once again, asking myself the right questions. If I say this, what am I scared of? Well, where did that come from? How did I create that story in the first place? Right? And sometimes we think of these things, we're like, this is so much work. But I ask myself, and I want you guys to ask yourself this too. Is it worth it to do the work and ask yourself the right questions and give yourself grace and not blame others and just say, today I am choosing to show up as my best self. So when this happens again, my best self says this. My best self feels this way as he or she says this. Because I am worthy of still being loved, even if I say something that might cause a disagreement, even if I say something that just might be of a different opinion, because I am the only person that needs to validate how I feel, and that's important. How I feel is important. It takes time to get there. It's worth it though, you guys, and it's every day when you realize what it is that you are just done doing and taking ownership of it, then every time a situation happens, you now have the opportunity to do one of two things. You're either going to act in the way you've always acted, and then you're going to go home and you're going to have all the emotions and all the ugly feelings, okay? Or you're going to pause for just a moment before you respond, not react, because we don't react, we respond. And we're going to say, okay, this is an opportunity to create new evidence in my subconscious mind that I am going to say what my best self would want to say to prove that the outcome of that situation is still going to be in my favor because I chose myself. I confidently chose to honor myself and give myself the permission I needed to do the thing that I've always wanted to do, to say the things I wanted to say, to stop overthinking of the things I wanted to overthink. Okay. Another example that we do is, sometimes at work, given, situation, I know work can be different, but what we choose to allow at work stems from how we value ourselves, how worthy we feel, right? And we can look at other people around us in the same field and say, why do I do it this way, but they do it that way? And you got to ask yourself, how does my best self want to respond to this from now on? What do I want to allow? Because no matter what, if I know that I was true to myself, then I can go to bed and put my head on the pillow at night feeling good. It's when we don't honor ourselves and we put ourselves last for other people, no matter how much we love them, we are telling ourselves, well, you are subconsciously unworthy because of what you might be scared of. So I ask you today to get out of that fear. And I know it's a lot easier said than done. So the first step is to ask yourself, what are you tired of feeling? Are you tired of feeling anxious? Are you tired of feeling like you are the only one who puts effort in? Are you tired of feeling like, you love to just make sure there's peace all around you all the time, when sometimes you're just like, I need someone to, ask me how my day is, whatever it might be. So how can you do something different? And it starts with putting yourself first. It starts with asking yourself, what brings me joy, and start doing it unapologetically. It starts with making appointments with yourself, checking in with yourself in the morning. It starts with every day saying, okay, I'm sick of feeling this way. So today is a new day. So when an opportunity comes for me to prove my subconscious mind that I am not that person anymore and build new thoughts and new habits, I am going to do my best, no matter how uncomfortable it is, to show up as him or her and do it. Okay. And it's not always going to be easy, but the more and more you do it, it still may feel uncomfortable, but it's going to be worth it. That I can promise you. So I want you to ask yourself, I don't know what's going on up there. I want you to ask yourself, what is it today that I'm no longer allowing myself to feel? And how is my best self showing up? How is my best self responding when the opportunity arises? Because I'm going to be honest with you guys, we have to sometimes just have a hard look in the mirror, love ourselves enough to want to shift, not change, right? Not change the past, not blame anybody, but take ownership and say, okay, from this day forward, this is going to be my new practice. And when we call it a practice, an opportunity, it gives us the opportunity every day to show up without the pressure of having to be quote unquote perfect. And I say this because I can guarantee you that 99% of people go through an emotion that they're tired of feeling. But somewhere down the road, they don't feel worthy enough to just respond in a different way because of some kind of fear. But when we can become aware of what that behavior is and just be aware of the fear, is when we can start to shift. And then that's when we can call it our self-love practice every day. Just like we would give anyone we love grace and know that it was a habit they were working on shifting. You are going to give yourself that same grace. So ask yourself today, my friends, Today's a new day. We have a lot of things in the outside world right now that are 100% out of our control. Okay. And we can choose to put all our energy and all our emotions on those things, or we can choose to put it back into us, into the people we love, to be the best version of ourselves, starting now, not later, not when this happens, not when that happens, today, now, because that is what we have control over. Where are we choosing to put our fears and energies? What fears and old stories are we saying, okay, well, that's just who I am? You can believe that, or you can choose to shift. It's up to you. And my hope is that I am instilling courage in you and a little annoyance, right? I have to just start to be annoyed with no one but myself to really make these changes happen. To feel all the feels. That's a tongue twister. Okay. And I think the hardest thing sometimes is being like, the only person I can blame right now is myself. I can look at everything as to why I feel that way, but it's not anybody's fault, because I am now going to choose what I allow and what I don't. Because I am worthy of love. I am worthy of abundance. I am worthy of being happy just because. I am worthy of believing that things are happening for me. And that's a hard one, because, we can choose to believe a lot of other people's opinions, but deep down, you got to ask yourself, if you wouldn't trade places with those people, then don't let their viewpoints and perspective affect you. I know it's hard, but once again, that's a decision, that's a shift. So we get to decide, how is it we want to show up today? What is our practice going to be today? Because we're sick and tired of feeling this one feeling. And when we have decided when we feel that feeling, because we choose to respond in this way, when an opportunity comes again, how is the best version of ourselves going to respond differently? And I'm telling you, it's going to be uncomfortable. Okay. It's going to be uncomfortable. It is going to be hard. Okay. But it's going to be worth it. So I hope today that this gave you a lot to think about. And I hope, my wish for you is that you take the time to sit down, get a notebook, you guys, pen to paper, however you do it, draw it out, write it out, paragraphs, bullet points, maps, like graphic organizer style. What is it you're releasing, and what is it you're stepping into? What are you no longer letting your old self have as the story, and fully embracing this new best version of you? Why? Because if we don't do it now, we're not going to do it later. Later is not a thing, you guys. Okay. Things don't get better. We don't get more time. We don't get more money. Ideally we want to, but we can't wait for that to happen. We have to embrace what it is now. We have to decide to step into that person now. And from that is when we decide that is what we are worthy of. We are worthy of doing that. So I hope that you take the time in yourself. This is me giving you permission to look at your calendar. I don't care how busy you are. We're all busy, right? This takes effort. This takes time. This means you might be up an extra hour. But something I can tell you is that when I have my clients answer questions that I give them, they are already discovering what is truly built within them, because it's one thing to feel it and one thing to think it. But when we get it out on paper, we automatically start acting as that best self. We automatically start shifting, being aware, knowing we're doing something, giving ourselves more grace, having that practice, looking at every engagement with interaction with somebody else as an opportunity for ourselves to be the worthy human we were born to be. So with that, I leave you. I hope you have a beautiful day, evening, wherever you are. Make sure you are following me on Instagram for my just worthy love that I call it, okay? For that scroll of inspiration and just reminders that we need, because, things are hard right now. And what we choose to focus on matters. Who we choose to focus on matters. Our habits, being intentional. At the end of the day, you guys, when our eyes are open, it is a gift. So let's choose to be intentional with what we have been given in front of us for these 24 hours and allow ourselves the worth we desire, the worth we know we were born with, and allow ourselves that grace and that healing. Until next time, you guys, thank you so much. And I will see you next time on the Worthiness Project. Bye for now.